is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. And we've got a little bit of a sports betting episode for you all today. Just a teensy little bit. Matt and Theo have some prop bets that they really, really love. And I'm going to determine whether or not they suck. That's basically the way this episode goes. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday?
I'm doing pretty well. It's these Wednesday records are early for me. It's 7:40 in the morning, 7:45, and I woke up at 6 to put my list of prop bets together because I was doing other things yesterday. So I'm a bit tired. I wish I had like some caffeinated tea or coffee or something.
And I've been thinking about a similar thing with the whole like, don't talk to me before I've had my morning coffee. I'm not saying I find that type of shirt funny now, but I do get it, man. And it's almost 10 o'clock where I am, and I'm still sleepy because I didn't go down and get my big cup of coffee that keeps me up too late and keeps me tired for the next day where I have to go get a coffee. So,
yeah, I can't relate, guys. But
yeah, Blaiden's got that natural energy.
Yippee!
Right.
Blaiden just eats sugar like a little kid and gets hyper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's you know it, man.
But doing pretty well. I'm feeling very good about my list of prop bets here. I think they all have a good chance of hitting, but again, you don't have to take them if you don't want to. These aren't guarantees. These are maybes. These are potentiallys. These are what's the odds in blackjack? It's like 58-42% or something like that the dealer wins the 58. But if you know how to play, you can up your odds just a little bit. I feel like this is in that vein. These aren't guarantees, but they're. I don't see why they wouldn't hit.
I don't see how
they're not locks, but I think they'll hit. I don't know.
I probably am going to end up betting like 2 of these that I have.
Okay.
And I have like 10, just to be completely honest with you. And some of them are like, honestly, I'm looking at it. Most of them are like overs and blah, blah, blah. So maybe that's not that interesting, but
I feel like betting over is definitely more interesting than betting unders.
If I had unlimited money, I would bet all of these, but I just went on a month-long vacation and I didn't feel like putting $20 on 12 bets right now.
Oh no.
So right now I don't have action on any of these, but eventually I will bet some of them.
Well, here's the problem. The podcast is going to move the line so much on them.
Dude, I swear that my thoughts moved the line on them from last night to this morning, because I'll say it right off the bat. I had a Joe Burrow passing touchdowns leader prop in mind when I went to bed yesterday. And then when I woke up, his odds were worse for the betting. I mean, they were higher odds in terms of, I don't know. He moved up the rankings. So they like have a microchip in my brain or something.
That's true. I actually talked to Vegas and that's what they said.
You do have a microchip in your brain, FanDuel boy.
That is true.
They put that shit in there and they're trying to get all the
That's true.
kids to bet Nick Chubb MVP.
They don't need all the kids. They just need me, man. I'm putting $1 million on that right now. Betting my house on it.
Blaiden works 3 jobs so he can put the maximum amount of money on Nick Chubb MVP futures.
I do it every year, man. Why do you?
He's due. He's so due.
Well, last year I did the Myles Garrett depoy, and that's kind of paid for everything else, you know?
Ooh.
I didn't actually bet Myles Garrett depoy. I should have though. Hindsight.
the odds were too high for Blaiden. I know that he saw those and they were like plus 500 or plus 600 or something. And then he's
I put like $5.
But a Conquo has, but a Conquo is plus 5,000. Plus
no, that really is how I bet though. I'm like, yo, what is like the worst odds on thing to happen that's like almost feasible, and that's what I bet. It never hits.
It never hits.
I'd figure so, man.
This is why Vegas has all those bright, shiny buildings.
Because of me.
But me and Matt have some more logical bets. Blaiden,
hopefully you'll make
doesn't even have any.
No. It's okay.
It's okay though.
All right. So let's just start this off. Theo, you've got 12 of them. Give me your first one.
Well, I already kind of mentioned it. It's a passing touchdowns leader bet, and I think that Joe Burrow at plus 1,200 right now is a solid investment. He's higher than that in the yards department, but lower in touchdowns. So I figure we might as well try the touchdowns because I figure it's about the same chance, I'd imagine. But I like Burrow in a lot of props this year. I think that he's being underrated. His yards over under is also, I think, pretty good. It's at 3,975.5, and he's been banged up over the course of his career. But I mean, if he's healthy, I find no reason why he couldn't cruise past 4,000 yards, and why he wouldn't be a solid bet to lead the league in passing touchdowns, because I think the Bengals will pass the ball more than any other team again this year, which has been a pretty consistent theme over the course of their time with Joe Burrow. They love to get in gun. They love to throw it as much as they possibly can. Mixon is gone, so they might even throw it more than they have. I like the Jermaine Burton addition a lot. I think that he could be a really electric wide receiver 3 for them right out of the gate. And I'm just high on the potential of this passing offense in general. So
can I ask, who are the quarterbacks above Burrow?
Okay, so Purdy is one of them. Mahomes is one of them.
Okay.
We've got Dak is one of them. Stroud is about the same. Look, I just said plus 1,200, guys. That's what it was at the beginning. Now it's plus 1,000 for Burrow to lead.
Since you've been talking,
since I've been talking, it's been going up and up. So
it's going to be minus money by the time this podcast is over.
So I guess Purdy's not ahead of him anymore. I swear when I checked last night, Allen, Stroud, Purdy were all ahead of Burrow. This morning, no joke, Burrow is ahead of all of them. So this is not becoming as...
I would have definitely said that I would take Burrow over Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably take him over Stroud too.
Yeah, and I'd take him over Allen, I think, because Allen's receiving
Dak,
core.
I don't know, man.
Dak's only has CD, though, is the thing. I worry a little bit about that. I do think that the Bengals passing attack has the capability of being even better than the Cowboys next year. Dak led it last year. I don't know if he repeats if Burrow stays healthy, and Mahomes has an upgraded receiving core. I like Burrow. I like Burrow on everything.
Mahomes would make it tough too.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes, Dak.
Yeah, definitely Mahomes. But over the past 3 seasons, the per 17 game pace for Mahomes is 36 touchdowns, and for Burrow, it's 34. So, and that's with Burrow being banged up for some of this season.
Right.
So it's like they're kind of on even footing, but Burrow's odds are kind of substantially lower. So I just like the Burrow bets right now. I think that passing attack is going to be so high volume, and he's so good that he's pretty nice. His overs leading the leagues and stuff. MVP bet, wouldn't hate it.
A guy I like is Trevor Lawrence's passing yards over. He's sitting at 37.75, which he has hit the over on the last 2 years. And even in his rookie year, he was only 100 yards off, and that is deemed as like a hilarious disaster year, right? Feels like the offense has a lot of room to grow on top of what he was already doing. Feels like his luck was really bad last year and is only going to be better. If you believe in Brian Thomas Jr. at all, and you think he'll stay healthy, 4,500 yards is easily in the picture, right? And the other thing I really like about him is the fact that he's only missed one game his entire career, which was last year, and he still hit the over. So it feels like, when you're making a bet like this, of course, you're gambling a lot on just who is going to stay healthy, even maybe more than, necessarily can this guy get to this number. And Trevor's only shown that, yes, he can. And when he does, he hits the over. And even when things are ugly, he's probably still going to get enough attempts to hit that 4K mark.
What's the line, Matt?
37.75.
That's 220 yards a game, man. He can do that easily.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I love your point about how he's only missed one game because he's got top 5 pocket presence to me. And then last year he got the ball out faster than anyone not named Tua. So he's just not the type of guy to take a ton of hits. So his odds to stay healthy as like a 6'6", like 200 something pound quarterback is, it's a lot safer than most quarterbacks, I'd say.
Right. I look at a guy like Tua, for example. His line's set right around 4,000 yards, which if he plays all 17 games is, I don't want to say a gimme, but he's not going to have under 4,000 yards the way that offense is. But it's just such a gamble on whether or not he stays healthy. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be he has a season-ending injury, but it's like if he misses a couple of games, all of a sudden you're battling for that. And I just feel like with Lawrence, the risk of that is less. Not zero, anything can play out anyway.
But Tua has only played a full season once.
Right. So there's a lot more risk with that. So I try to take that into account.
And Burrow, honestly, maybe it's something I should have thought about more, but like how is his wrist and what's his status even for week 1? He said that he's trending to play that way, or like he's on pace to be ready by then. But it's like, why aren't you ready right now? And he's someone who holds the ball and has been banged up a little bit more than Trevor. So maybe that's why his line is below 4,000 yards, which if he's healthy, I think he would cruise by, but so would Lawrence.
Right. And with Burrow, especially you almost have to worry if you're betting leading the league in passing yards or leading the league in touchdowns. If he misses a game, it could derail him in a way where even if Lawrence were to go out and miss a couple, I still feel like he can make it up on this line. Or if Burrow were to go out and miss a couple or be a little shaky to start, it doesn't put him in a hole. I got another bet that I think, Blaiden, you'll like particularly well.
Let's do it.
I think the Browns are being undervalued a little bit as potential AFC North division winners. The Ravens were plus 130. The Bengals were plus 140. And the Browns were plus 480. I think that starts to get into their humongous underdogs. And I just don't know if the path is that unimaginable to me. Defensively, they're still going to be dominant, I think. Yeah. I don't see any reason why they would take a serious step back there. Myles Garrett is still going to be playing at defensive player of the year level. And they have some holes at linebacker, and that costs them in the playoffs. But in the regular season, it gets it done, man. And offensively, I understand we are worried about the quarterback situation, but to be real, they were pretty good last year with the quarterback situation not being that great ever, And now you potentially get Chubb back. I think their offense could be I think they could be a similar level of team. The Ravens might take a step back, and we don't know exactly what the Bengals are going to look like. I think it's well within the range of outcomes for the Browns to win this division if a couple of games break their way. And while that wouldn't be my pick, I agree with the Ravens and the Bengals being above them, plus 480 is like incredibly long odds.
You're definitely not. I don't think you're totally off base. Like if you look at what the Browns lost this offseason compared to, the Ravens lost Mike McDonald, right? That's a huge loss. Like
and some serious defenders,
right? So I can definitely see the vision where the Browns will probably still have the best defense in this division, and the offense probably won't be worse than it was last year. Like the quarterback situation was about as bad as it could have been. You had 4 different starting quarterbacks? I don't think it's totally off base. They were close last year, but I don't think I would pick them either to win this division.
I don't think I could pick against Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in their primes with good teams around them losing the division to Deshaun Watson. I
think it's more than just quarterbacks.
I know, but they have good teams too. Like talk about the Browns defense. It's like the Ravens defense is good. The Bengals defense is improved, I'd say. And then the Steelers defense as well is really good. And you could get the Steelers for even longer odds than the Browns.
Yeah,
and
but the Steelers.
Yeah, but
come on. Like it's the Steelers.
It's the Steelers. Well, their record within the division is probably better than the Browns.
Allen missing the playoffs. I want to hear no such sort of type prediction.
Because what's the difference between betting the Browns and the Steelers? Like, really?
The Browns are better.
By like what? By how much?
A lot.
They're not that much better.
Or last year.
They both made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and the Browns are better.
I don't know. I just don't see either of those teams beating out Lamar and Burrow. I think.
What position group would the Steelers be better at?
Quarterback.
Maybe. Would they?
I don't know.
It seems like a pretty big wash. I don't know. I think the Browns have perfectly fine. I think those are pretty long odds for a team that I expect to make the playoffs again, to be honest with you.
The Browns were 11-6 last year. The Steelers were 10-7.
The Browns are, come on, man. We're not doing Steelers better than Browns.
The Steelers were 5-1 in the division. The Browns were 3-3. Okay. I don't know. I don't see those teams as being like drastically different on paper. If I wanted like a long shot bet, I'd put my money on Tomlin. I'd put my money on Tomlin.
When was the last time Tomlin won the division?
I don't know, but when was the last time the Browns won the division?
I guess that's fair.
Lamar and Burrow got that shit unlocked, man. They got that shit unlocked.
Do Lamar and Burrow have playing on lock?
Yes, one of them.
Lamar did just win MVP. Like it would be pretty hard to go against it. But I don't know. I do think the Browns would be a safer bet than the Steelers.
Like really? Like how many games do you think the Ravens are going to win next year?
Probably like 11 or 12.
You think it's crazy to take at plus 500 a team that just won 11 games? You think that's insane? To maybe get a like.
I don't think their defense is going to be defense is fickle, and the Browns defense was so historically good in last regular season. I mean, their defensive success rate was like the best since 2000. It was like on par with the 2000 Ravens or something.
Yeah, but so were the Ravens. So
are the Ravens, right? I understand.
I have actual reasons to believe the Ravens' defense will be worse.
I just don't think the Browns will repeat that. I don't, and I think that Deshaun Watson is terrible, and those two things combined make me think that they're not going to be winning a division that employs Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
When Jameis Winston starts in week 4, he will turn the season around.
I actually have a bet fading the Browns in my list, which is it's the Deshaun Watson under on passing yards.
What is his line?
Under 3,250.
No, yeah, there's no shot he hits that. I legitimately don't think he'll play the whole season.
Yeah,
because
I could.
Because he hasn't, right? Like these last 2 years, he's played 6 games and 6 games.
Yeah,
And
that's the easiest under of your life.
And in those 6 games, he averages 184.8 yards per game. So if you extrapolate that to 17 full games, the under still hits. So he will have to improve greatly and play all 17 games when he hasn't even played half a season for the Browns yet. Or I guess he'd have to improve a little bit. He wouldn't have to improve greatly.
Yeah, 3,000 yards isn't that many if you're playing 17 games. But the fact that Watson is like a combination of either is getting benched or getting hurt, like there's no way there's no way I would consider him getting 3,000 yards, even a remote possibility.
Yeah, he would have to I'm convinced he doesn't work on things in the off season, so I just don't really see him improving that much. If I could understand it when his first year on the Browns when he hadn't played in so long. Right. He comes in and struggles, but then he has the full offseason to work on things and just shows no improvement whatsoever. Now he's got a full offseason to work on things. I think he's probably going to still average 184 yards a game, which is terrible. It could get him benched and he could sit out. He could get hurt. There's just no way I'm taking his over there. And if there's no way I'm taking his over, then I should take his under.
Yeah, I was taking the Winston over as one of my selections.
A lot of Browns props today. I love it, man. Jameis over. What is Jameis's line, Matt?
I have no idea.
There probably isn't one. You can't really bet backup lines.
That's fucked up, man. What's his
total? I'm sure he could go in there and do perfectly fine and keep the Browns in the mix.
Hey, if there's one thing about Jameis Winston, he can throw a lot of yards, he could throw a lot of touchdowns, and he could throw a lot of interceptions.
He could be very Flacco-y.
I think he would be better than Flacco.
Sounds like a couple extra wins to me.
Hey,
you think the Browns could win 13 games next year?
No.
I think that's what it's going to take to win this division.
There's no way we're doing the Ravens are the exact same team. Lamar plays a full season and that's going to happen again, no question, and their defense will take no step back.
Lamar wins. What is Lamar's win percentage in his career? He wins 75% of his games. I'm not going to say Lamar is going to be 500 or something like that.
I'm not arguing for Lamar to be 500. He didn't need to be 500. But first off, the Ravens have had bad seasons with Lamar on the roster. Now, how has that happened? Because he gets banged up. We're talking about 2 guys who get banged up. And both those teams are entirely reliant on their quarterbacks not getting banged up. The Ravens won 13 games last year and are one of the few teams in the NFL who are definitely worse on paper. Saying they're going to repeat 13 games again or wins, not impossible, of course. Within their range of outcomes, but definitely feels like it's getting much into the higher percentile of things breaking their way. To say that a Browns team that looks about the same, that won 11 games, could possibly be on par with a Ravens team that won 13 and definitely took a step back, I just don't think is plus 500 crazy.
The Browns also had some bad injury luck, towards the back stretch of the year.
The Browns also got incredibly injured last year and won 11 games versus a very healthy, perfect situation Ravens team.
I mean, they had in the Broncos game. I went back and watched this game and cried because it was so bad.
They had injury luck. They were lucky Deshaun got hurt.
Yeah,
Deshaun will be benched by week 4. Your under will hit beautifully. And Jameis will come in and throw 4,000 yards.
We can all eat.
That's true. This is not a one wins all. But
of course, I'll say this. I think 9 wins is also very much on the table.
Even if they finish better than the Ravens, there's still the Bengals to contend with, though.
That's very true.
I don't know.
think that's part of the reason why it's
The Browns are pretty good at beating the Bengals, though. I feel
you just don't have the guts to bet something plus 500. It's all good.
You should bet the Steelers. The Steelers are the better bet. Longer odds.
What are the Steelers odds? What are the Steelers odds?
They're like plus 700.
That is not a big enough gap to justify.
What gap?
If the Steelers were like plus 2,000 odds, I'd consider it.
They have a bad quarterback. They have a good offensive line and running game. They have a sick front seven. These teams are they're the same. They have the coach of the year. I don't know. They have good coaching.
Hiring up those cornerbacks, man.
Oh, Joey Porter Jr.
I was about to say, a
Steelers
fan tweeted at us. They're like, you
Healthy
guys drafted secondary and didn't even mention Joey Porter. And honestly, that's on me because he is a baller.
He is a baller.
Joey Porter is not like one of the top 6 like cornerbacks in the NFL. Good.
I'm more concerned.
But he could have
Joey
gotten an
Porter's
honorable mention.
He's not as good as Ward yet, I'd say, but maybe he could be. I'm more concerned with the Steelers that Cam Sutton is their corner too. He was on the run from the law not that long ago. I don't even know how he's in the league.
I mean, the Browns secondary isn't perfect either. So I'm not even gonna.
No.
There was a stretch last year where we were getting cooked on the back end. Greg Newsome couldn't guard anyone.
That's
Dante Jackson is.
I'm stupid.
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think, Matt, I still agree that you're more on base.
It's probably about fair, honestly, at plus 480. That's probably about right.
We've spent too much time on what bottom of the AFC North team is going to finish first. What's your next bet, Matt?
Oh, I have Rome Odunze over 695 receiving yards. There has been just in general, way too much worry about target share with Odunze. I think the idea is like there's some rookie coming into a situation where 2 other good receivers exist and that he's not going to see the ball at all.
Bless you.
And there's some truth to that. Like, of course, he's not going to like get 150 targets or anything, but Rome Odunze is good enough to demand targets in his own right and will be getting fantastic one-on-one looks that he will win because of how much defensive attention has to go to the other receivers that the Bears have. I think at 700 yards, I mean, it feels like you're asking for him to have like below 80 targets. And I just don't see that for him. I just think he's going to get his fair share. I really, really do. I think there's even a case that he could be like second in targets on this team. I think that's completely reasonable. And Keenan Allen is like no guarantee to play a full year. And if that happens, then all of a sudden, like you're going to see a lot of Odunze looks. But I just see him as a wide receiver too, getting so many good matchups. And Caleb Williams, who wants to bomb it down the field, giving him so many chances at it. So I feel like he's been incredibly undervalued in fantasy and in the betting lines. I think he's going to be a baller.
I like that. I think a lot of people think that, I don't know, when you look at most teams, when they're adding like a top 10 pick wide receiver, they're usually not also adding a top 10 pick quarterback. So you're going into the season with a quarterback that has no chemistry with any of these guys and a receiver who, he's not going to have chemistry with the quarterback, but that's not going to impact his target share, it feels like, because no one's going to have chemistry with him. That would be my thing. It's almost like random for us, like as to who's going to be the target leader.
What's the line? 670
695.
695. My blueprint for everything Bears this year is just the Seahawks last year. And there's a little bit of concern, I guess maybe there, that, you know, they drafted one of our favorite prospects, Jackson Smith and Jigba. They had a 3-headed monster with Lockett and DK, right? And then the line failed and they just couldn't quite find enough ways to get Smith and Jigba the ball. But Smith and Jigba still finished with 628 receiving yards. I like Rome even more than JSN, I'd say.
I think that's no question. And but JSN had a disaster year last year, essentially. Like it was basically like he was playing with like a messed up hand for part of the year.
JSN's season was pretty worst case scenario. He was playing banged up. The offensive line was a complete disaster. And so Geno did kind of have to like settle back to just his old reliables. Caleb Williams doesn't have an old reliable in Chicago right now.
Yeah. And JSN started the season 13 yards, 34 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, and then was fine. So if like maybe the betting lines are worried about that, like, oh, Waldron couldn't get a top prospect to 600 or 700 yards last year. But if JSN got that close with a paltry start to the season, like, I don't know why Rome couldn't get 50 more yards or whatever. That's maybe more than that. Again, 80 more yards in the same offense.
JSN, who had 93 targets last. You tell me right now, Rome Odunze gets anything around 93 targets. I'm feeling great.
Yeah,
I really am. I think the looks he's going to get are going to be so strong, and he's such a beast. I think he's in a different stratosphere than JSN. And I'm saying
how many
that with
times
OSU hat on, God bless him. But
I feel like there were a lot of times last year where we're like, why are they using JSN like this? Weren't they using him in like the screen game a lot? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, they were a lot of screens.
It was pretty messed up at the beginning of the year. It got a little bit better towards the end. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty underwhelming year for JSN, and still in this offense, 93 targets, 628 yards. I do think that I would have to imagine Rome Odunze enjoys a little boost from that. So I agree.
Yeah, that's a good take, Matt.
I got two running backs. They both have a line of 725.5 yards.
Are they on the same team?
They're not on the same team.
Okay.
So they're both 725.5. I like the over on one, the under on the other.
Oh.
One is James Conner and one is Tony Pollard. I bet you can guess which one is which.
Yeah, you're taking the over on Pollard, right?
No, I'm not. So Pollard is at 725.5, and I just don't know if when push comes to shove, the Titans are going to find him more valuable than Spears. I think when you look at what Pollard did last year behind a Cowboys offensive line, that is light years ahead of what the Titans was. Spears still was the more efficient player.
Right.
And a full yard more in yards per touch. Now you've got Pollard leaving Dallas after failing a chance to be the lead back, going to Tennessee. I don't know. I don't think that he is going to hit that. I think Spears has a real shot to be the more talented guy and maybe hit that over instead of Pollard.
Right. And I still think that Titans offensive line is like very not good. I'm honestly, I think the whole conversation this offseason around the Titans has been very interesting. I mean, I guess I don't hate the kind of sort of general direction they're going in, but I think, I look at their like win total line and it's like 7.5, and it's like, oof, I don't know. Like, is this team that level right now?
7.5 feels.
I think that offense is going to struggle. I think that Pollard is just straight up not as good of a back as Spears, and I don't think he's going to be in a very good situation. So I absolutely don't hate taking the under right there. And Pollard also has an injury history, and that factors into these things. So I don't disagree.
And then with the over for James Conner, I just think that he was the Cardinals' best player on offense last year. And I understand that they took Trey Benson, but James Conner was top 5 in the league in rushing last year, and he missed some games. So he would have to fall off a long way to go under 725.5. And if you look at the last 3 years in Arizona, he's hit it every single season, even when he hasn't always been starting games or playing 13 games like he has the last 2 years. So if can hit, so I guess the injury is an issue with him, and that's always been the issue with him. But I don't know.
He's never played a full season ever.
Yeah, I guess that may be a bit more
but he's hit it 4 out of 7 times in his career. Like it's 13, 13, 15, 13, 10, 13, 14.
Mm-hmm. So, and he hits that number a lot. And I think the Cardinals' rushing attack is going to be pretty high end. They were a top 10 offense last year after week 10 when Kyler came back.
Yeah.
And their running game was really impressive. Kyler had the ability to make more checks at the line of scrimmage, and I thought he was pretty good at doing that, getting them into the right looks. Obviously, he's a threat as a rusher that opens up space. And if Connor has this injury history, just because they have a guy like Trey Benson to lean on, that's not necessarily a horrible thing for him. They could run the ball a lot. We saw Montgomery and Gibbs in a good rushing offense, both get over 1,000 yards. I don't think it'll be the exact same scenario with Gibbs and with Benson and Connor, but I think they could both like hit over 700 in a rushing offense like this. I think James Conner is always unsexy. He's always underrated, but the dude breaks tackles. The dude has great vision, and the dude can block. So he's going to be in, and I really like the offensive ceiling for the Cardinals. Connor banged up. That's the only thing. But I think that this is too low for him. I think this is way too low for him.
Yeah. I think I agree. Connor's more likely to not lose his job than Pollard is to the younger star back. So,
yeah, I mean Connor's just better. Like you put on Cowboys games and you would say like, oh man, I'm disappointed in their running game. Put on Cardinals games and you would say like, oh man, James Conner is getting it done. Like that's pretty much as straightforward as it gets in terms of why I would take Connor's over and Pollard's under.
Here's a question. Do you think the Cowboys' run game is going to be better or worse than it was last year?
I don't know, man. They got Zeke and Rico Dowdle. Shout out Rico Dowdle, though.
Shout out Zeke, Ohio State legend.
It is Zeke back in there starting, isn't it? That is crazy. Yeah. That's such a funny thing to do. I didn't even think about that. And Rico, shout out Rico Dowdle, man. Let's go.
Shout out Rico Dowdle.
Hype ass halfback room, man.
That is the craziest running back room
and Deuce
maybe
Vaughn
I've ever seen.
And Royce Freeman. I'm looking at it right now. This is
Deuce Vaughn and Royce Freeman.
What are the odds of Dak being the leading rusher of that team?
Ooh, probably 0 because he just doesn't really run a lot.
He runs a decent amount.
That could change.
I don't know how many. Hold on, let's see. How many carries do you think?
There's no way that he had over 200 rushing yards last year.
He had
or over 300. Maybe he got in the 200s.
He had 242. I'd say his odds are 0.
If Rico Dowdle's getting that in a game.
That's true.
All right, man. If you say
You're
so.
Looking like Rico Dowdle per game averages.
Matt, you got another bet here?
Oh, yes. Can I give you a boring one and a lame one, but one that I think everybody could be fine with?
Okay.
Chiefs plus 600 to win the Super Bowl, man. Their odds are not that bad.
Are they the front runner?
They're the front runner, and they're still plus 600. Like, I just feel like 1-6 feels like such a long shot. And we've said the same thing about Mahomes winning MVP, and I agree with that one too. I think both of these things, it's like they just don't push them as high as they should be. To me, going into this year, the Chiefs are still like the obvious heavy favorites.
Yeah.
And while the NFL is crazy and like, shit changes and we don't see three-peats, part of the reason why we don't see three-peats is because most teams don't do it 2 times to begin with. So I really don't buy into like, well, they can't do it a third. This team feels no worse than it was last year, and they got it done. Every other team I have at least serious questions. And I wonder whether even not I find 6 teams that I'm like, yeah, they're going to go win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if you told me over the next, I don't know, how many more years you think the Chiefs have of being dominant, like probably like let's say like
Mahomes
10. Yeah, like another.
How long is Mahomes' career gonna be?
That'd be like if they won it, like you'd be losing on this level of bet if they won it like once, and I just think they're gonna see a few more, man. And I think at the peak of their powers, which I feel like they are right now, I like them to repeat. The field is obviously the better bet.
Yeah.
But you can't just bet the field against the Chiefs and at plus 600. I just
Who's the next closest team?
It's
49ers.
San Francisco at like plus like maybe like 800, I think.
That's pretty close.
I'll look it up.
I would say that I don't know if I've ever seen a team have like more than 20% chance to win the Super Bowl in June or July.
Depends on where you get it, but yeah, plus 600. I don't know. I think
as long as Chris Jones and Travis Kelce are still top 5 at their positions, which I think they both are, like the Chiefs are pretty damn formidable. Trent McDuffie's going to be great. Like the offensive line is probably going to be great. The receiving core is better. They lost. The only thing is they lost Snead, and like maybe there's going to be too much strain on the secondary with all the blitzing. That's like the only Achilles heel I could see with them.
But I like them to bring it back and go back. Like I'm trying to look around the league, I guess, and think like who took this big step and is going to be like way, way better next year. I think the Lions are kind of in
Detroit
that
with their
range.
secondary.
This doesn't feel like the best version of the Bengals, but like I could get down with them pulling it out against the Chiefs.
The Browns.
Buffalo starts.
The Browns. Yeah.
Panthers. Buffalo starts to get like into, I don't know. I mean, they could go
I
on a
don't
run.
think so, man.
Okay, well, Buffalo has the 6th best odds.
Exactly.
So it's like I'd like Chiefs plus 600 as a bet. I really do. I know that's so lame and so boring.
I don't think so. I mean, it's plus 600. It's plus 600.
Yeah.
If you really want a lame and boring one, bet their win over, which is like 11.5 or something.
I just don't even think I think that's such a good bet. I really do. I mean, they play in such a weak, pitiful division on top of everything. And it's like, dude, they're the champs and I think they're better.
Yeah. I mean, they're as good as the Patriots dynasty, in my opinion. Like how many times did the Patriots finish above that in their history? Like every year.
I think the one time they didn't was when Brady got hurt. And they finished.
And I guess that's what you're worried about with Mahomes getting hurt. But if
he never takes sacks, he never gets like. And when he does get hurt, they shoot him full of Toradol or whatever, and he just limps to winning games. Like
that's true.
No,
Taylor
I like
Swift puts him on his private jet. Puts him on her private jet, and
I got a bet I think you guys will love because we've kind of mentioned it these past few episodes. The Dolphins have the 3rd best odds to win the AFC East.
Yes.
At plus 210.
And I'm looking at things right now. The Dolphins have like the same odds as almost the Falcons to win the Super Bowl, and it's like, dude.
The Falcons are overrated, man.
The Falcons, I'm looking around. I'm starting to agree. The other team that I think is being boosted a little bit, this is off track, but the Chargers, their win total line is like 7 or 8.5. And it's like, man, they might like really stink. I guess they play in the division though. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I don't want to slander the Chargers and talk slandering the Chargers and hyping the Dolphins.
You slander the Chargers, but you put Herbert up.
But I agree so much about the Dolphins. I mean, this team was like one game away from winning that division last year, and this is with their like edge rusher disaster fall apart that they had.
And this is with the Bills getting undoubtedly worse. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad idea to trade Diggs away for what they got, but it makes the roster worse. And then they lost Poyer, they lost Hyde, they lost Tre'Davious White. Like, I get that they faced their injuries last year, but man, it's tough to see this defense being. I think maybe Sean McDermott can hold it together, and I think Josh Allen can hold the offense together, no problem. But if they haven't won one by now, I struggle to see this team in a Super Bowl window, and I think it's easy to imagine this being the worst version of the Bills that we've seen. And then the Jets are still above the Dolphins, and it's like
the Jets being above the Dolphins.
Great.
That one concerns me.
Or Rodgers looks great. That's not true. Rodgers is healthy. But like, he's off in Egypt instead of going to the training camps. Hackett is still their OC. Like, do I really believe in this offense? And the Dolphins defense looks damn good too.
Yes.
Right?
The Dolphins defense looks fantastic. Has a ton of good players. I really think the Jets as well. There's a very real possibility that we get 2 weeks into the season and Rodgers looks like a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles tear. And it's like, right.
Yeah, what if his arm strength is like
what if, and again, bad. This is a guy who already was like, not like pretty clearly like starting to decline a little bit, you know, no disrespect. That's
it wasn't top 10 in 2022.
He didn't have a great 2022. He didn't see him, and then he tears his Achilles, and it's like, okay, well, now he's going to be back from this torn Achilles at 40. I mean, an Achilles is just such a different beast of an injury than like an ACL or anything or whatever. So and I don't even think like the Jets like offense is perfect around him or anything. I think it's good, but like I think there's some pieces there. But I really worry if Rodgers comes back and stinks. And I guess you could say that like he'll probably still be an upgrade over what they had last year. But I wonder if that type of thinking, it's easy to fall into of like, oh, well, if you compare it to what they had last year when they won X amount of games, it's such an improvement, can make you overrate teams.
Yeah.
So
and
I agree the Dolphins here are a great pick.
I'd rather just bet on the great offense than the great defense. And with the Dolphins, I mean, they've been number one basically 2 years in a row. So, and their defense looks good as well. Like you said, Matt, they were really close to winning it last year. I think plus 210 is pretty good odds for them. And maybe the Bills under as well, because I'm just not vibing with the Bills, and I haven't been vibing with the Bills, but I'm still not vibing with the Bills.
Yeah, the only thing that could really throw the Dolphins season would be a
Tua injury.
Right.
Tua injury. We'll see how Phillips comes back off.
Or just Tua being bad is the thing I'd be concerned about too. Just like
their offense will be good.
Yeah, like Tua is, as long as Hill is fast, or maybe a Hill injury would mess it up as well. Like injury would mess it up. Injury would mess it up.
But Tua has a bad injury history.
Sure, yeah, he does. But
that's the only thing that would throw. I mean, what do you mean? He does. He has one of the worst injury histories of any player I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Here's the thing. If you told me that they had a healthy Tua, they should be the favorite, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. No, I'd dead ass agree with you.
You're probably right.
Plus 210
I don't want to spoil we'll get more into it in the AFC East preview when we start getting to the divisions. But like, to me, on paper, it's close. I think I think there's three teams that are really within range, and we can talk about all the different outcomes. But like, I think at plus 210, you can say that the Tua health is a factor and admit that it's like maybe factored in and over factored in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Yeah, the Jets are the one that I'm really not super confident in. I feel the way I feel about the Jets is very similar to the way I feel about the Falcons. And I think the Jets probably have a better roster.
I feel completely differently about the Jets and the Falcons, to be honest with you. I think the Jets defense is like as sure a thing, at least on one side of the ball, as you could possibly get. With the Falcons,
I would have to hope so.
They've got a guy coming off an Achilles as well. But their defense is not going to be what the Jets is. But they also play in a much weaker division. So
I don't know why you guys sleep on the Falcons' defense.
It's on paper. Read the roster.
Look at how they did. It was the same last year, and they were good.
But defense doesn't just stay the same like offense does.
No,
Is the thing.
But
like
who's their new
defense
head
fluctuates.
coach?
It's Raheem Morris. I get it. But at the end of the day, their best pass rusher might be Ruka Rororo. Like,
I'm not denying the pass rush is gonna be, but like they should have taken Latu. That would have been the one thing to put them over the top.
Shout out Zach Harrison.
But
yeah, I think that defense is
they were the number one run defense last year.
Zach Harrison, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Arnold Ebiketie, Caden Ellis, Troy Anderson, Lorenzo Carter.
They were not actually the number one run defense last year.
In EPA, they were.
In EPA, were they actually the best run defense in the NFL, or did they play in the NFC South?
That might be fair.
Tampa, Saints, Panthers.
They played 11 other games.
Yeah, the Falcons got so much hype last year. Like, oh, the Falcons are a good team, and then they can't even get third in that. They got third in that division. Now it's like they have the same Super Bowl
I'm over here
odds
I'm over here defending the Falcons. I don't like them to be like a good team. I don't like them to win this division. I made a video where I said that I would rather have Baker Mayfield going into next year than Kirk Cousins. For both injury reasons. I think Baker's coming off his best season in his career, and he's a lot cheaper. There's just like, what is the reason to take Kirk unless you think Kirk is going to come back and be otherworldly, which for the same reason Rodgers, like, he's getting older, coming off an Achilles.
How do we get on the Falcons?
I don't remember. Because all that being said,
I don't remember.
I like Bijan's over.
Fair enough.
Smooth.
925. Like, again, that's a health.
Wow, his line's under 1,000.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to get so many touches, dude. And I expect the run game to be pretty strong with him. And I think he's going to have a breakout season. You guys know this. I think he's one of those talented backs in the NFL. And I think if they stop doing the whole Arthur Smith gimmick where he gives the backup like 200 carries as well, like
Tyler Algier,
it's not even going to be close, dude, is my thought. I'd be healthy. I would be more surprised if he went under this than if he doubled it. Not quite, but close. Almost you could give that take.
1,800 yards.
He could get to like 1,600, wouldn't shock me.
I could see 1,800 all-purpose.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Or like 1,800 scrimmage yards. Yeah.
1,800 rushing yards is tough.
Yeah, that's a lot. In 2024. Ever. Yeah, I mean, he would have if he had 1,800 rushing yards, he would have like 2,500 yards from.
Because he catches the ball a ton too. I just think he's like, there's just no way he doesn't get. I think he hit this last year too. Is the thing through it all. So you guys know. Yeah, how I feel about Deshaun.
I mean, I agree with that. I think it's hard to imagine him not being an 1,000-yard rusher next year.
Yeah,
but I gotta lead the league in rushing yards prop. Jonathan Taylor plus 1,000. A lot of the shine is off of Jonathan Taylor at this point. He's been banged up since his historic 2021 season, but his backup is Trey Sermon.
Hey.
I don't think that they're going to be in a timeshare. I'll say that, like I could see for a lot of top-end running backs. And from week, 7 on, Taylor had 75 yards, 95, 47, 69, 91, 43, 96, 188. That 188 is doing a lot of work, but it's still in there. That average is 88 yards a game per 17 games, 1496 rushing yards.
And it's like here's the thing, the rushing title last year was like not that competitive outside of McCaffrey. And he's just as big of an injury risk as Taylor is. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, like I agree there, Trey Sermon, God bless him, not probably going to be in the biggest timeshare with this running back you just paid. And Anthony Richardson, if he could stay healthy, makes the running game that much more explosive and is going to make Taylor, I think, wildly efficient. Having a guy who's going to take away attention like that is huge. I mean, that's why you see, Ravens running backs always are, some of the most efficient in the
That's why Miles Sanders
NFL.
went for like 1,400 yards in Philly.
Right. It means a lot. So I really like that pick. And Taylor has the talent and they're invested in him. And it's lined up very well. And their offensive line is great. Like, he's in arguably the best situation of pretty much any running back. It's up there.
However, he has played maybe 17 games over the last 2 seasons.
I know. But I still like the bet. It's just there's not a lot of great options, I think.
He's played 21, and part of like this year he was like it's sort of like an injury that bled into this year, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So it feels like maybe more one big injury, and he still saw in 10 games 170 carries.
I mean they need him when he's on the field.
And the year before he almost got to 211. So he's gonna see the ball a lot. And like, yes, there is the injury risk, but you're not betting him at plus 150. You're betting him at plus 1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you told me that he was gonna play 17 games, he would be like even odds to win it, man.
Who's
maybe
the front runner's McCaffrey, like, right?
Yeah.
It's gotta be, right. But he's an injury risk as well until he wasn't and won it. Right.
Yeah. That's true.
It's just tough to repeat, especially as a 28-year-old. I looked back at it and I could find 2 instances of a back-to-back rushing leader over the age of like 26. LaDainian Tomlinson did it in his age 27 and age 28 season. And then I think Barry Sanders did it in age 28 and 29. So McCaffrey would be joining a pretty elite club, which he could. He absolutely could. He's the favorite
was one
for
of those
a reason.
seasons LT's MVP?
Yeah, probably. But McCaffrey's not a bad bet for it. But if he doesn't repeat, I like Taylor.
McCaffrey also did not hit 1,500 rushing yards last year when he won it. That is something that's not on the basis of like, like McCaffrey sucks or like didn't deserve it. I mean, it's just what it is. He averaged like 5.5 yards a carry, but 1,500 yards is not like a crazy mark. I think there's a world where McCaffrey plays every game and Taylor just beats him out just straight up. So, I mean, like McCaffrey could have a great season and somebody who could just like find that like 300, 320 carry mark. And it's tough to beat somebody who's just running that much. I think it could be Taylor. I think the Colts have lined up like it's Taylor. I think he's lined up to be efficient with them.
Who are the other guys that are on that list?
Derrick Henry's up there kind of for the same reasons as Taylor, right?
Yeah.
They got rid of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and they've got Lamar Jackson. That should open up plenty of rushing room for Henry, I mean. So he's up there. Kieran Williams is up there. He was the rushing yards per game leader last year. Another bet I like, he's not up there. Just A-Chain, just because what if? What if instead of 100 carries, he gets 150? Like he doesn't need that many with how many yards he averages.
Yeah, he averages like what, 17 yards per carry?
That's what I'm saying, man.
17.
I hated it in fantasy, but it's true.
He averages 50 yards per carry?
If we're saying that the efficiency numbers are going to stand through the increase of volume, I mean, he should be getting 400, 500 carries a year in my book.
500 carries. Putting up some Madden numbers.
He's going to have 5,000 rushing yards.
But
all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, I like betting Taylor for volume and then A-Chain just because he doesn't even need the volume. But last year
where is Saquon?
He's up there too. He's probably like 5th.
Because Saquon's in that same group of.
He's 4th. So it goes McCaffrey, Taylor, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Kieran Williams, Derrick Henry. Those are your leaders. Bijan's not a bad bet as well, honestly. He's below Pacheco. That's silly to me. That's silly to me.
To lead the league in rushing.
Bijan Robinson plus 2,100. Those are good odds for him, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he's just such a beast, dude. I know you're gambling on his workload going up, but like it should.
Oh,
it should. They should run it a ton with Bijan next year.
Yeah.
And I think situation matters a lot, particularly in fantasy. Like I understand all of that stuff, but I don't know, man. At some point, we've got to ask, like, who are the guys who are good enough to where they like should be the rushing leader? Because rarely does some like guy who's only pretty good ever find a way to bring that one home. And like Bijan, I think is one of like the best 4 or 5 guys. So yeah, I would absolutely go with him.
But Taylor's now at plus 900. He was at plus 1,000 when I took my notes.
You're listening.
They're listening, dude.
They've got mics in your apartment. It's
by the time
you have a mic in your apartment.
Hits,
like this is.
By the time
Browns
this hits
are plus
Spotify,
1,000 to win the AFC North. As I'm looking at it right now, they're
tanking. The Steelers are minus 100. Steelers are minus 110
the
now.
Steelers are now a lock to win the AFC North.
It's a toss-up.
It's crazy.
I
Every
think-
bet they just go against Theo. But do you guys have
think
any
that's
others?
all the ones that I have. Oh, there's one more. There's one more thing I'd like to.
I got 2.
Okay.
I just think in general the cornerbacks are undervalued for defensive rookie of the year.
Wiggins.
I like Latu as much as like Wiggins is a good one. I think Kool-Aid is like plus like 2,800. And I think even Arnold has like like not quite as long, but like decently long odds. I think all of those guys are arguably like right up in there with like best player or best defensive player in the draft. And it's like now that the draft has actually happened, the edges are favored so heavily. Where it's like, okay, Dallas Turner has better odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year than the Chiefs do the Super Bowl. You know, it's like, man, really? There's multiple like edge rushers like that. It's like Latu. It's like Latu is my favorite, but at plus 550, I don't know.
Is Dallas Turner the second? Is Dallas Turner second?
First. I think he's
Dallas
first.
Turner's
actually.
first, yeah.
Which I don't mind betting Latu. Maybe I will just because I really like him and he's my favorite. But I think in general, like you have Wiggins. I know Theo.
Nate Wiggins is at like plus 3,500, plus 3,500. Right, that's huge odds to me, a guy who was the best man cover corner in college football last year, entering a great franchise, a great defense. I think that he could. He could really make some noise.
He's gonna need to get some turnovers, though. I don't think he's gonna have a season like Sauce did, where he's just like perfect.
No, probably not. Lattimore won it though. Yeah.
Did Lattimore have a bunch of turnovers his rookie year? Honestly asking.
I don't know.
It's a good question. Let me research.
He had 5 interceptions.
That's pretty good.
And you know who won it before that, corner-wise? Marcus Peters, who I'm sure had.
Oh yeah, he jumped a bunch of.
You need to get the picks.
But it's happened like a decent amount. Like corners are not totally banned from winning Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Like and safeties in line, but
right. And you would think that they were. And maybe if we want to like really like fool ourselves and trick ourselves, Wiggins is going to, he's going to be cornerback 2 there next to Humphrey. They're going to have to throw to somebody. He doesn't have to be cornerback 1. You can avoid him and Humphrey. Maybe that gets him more not so great looks or really good looks at throws that shouldn't happen. I think
he's just good.
Secondary puts you in a good position. I mean, we saw, Geno Stone's a great player and he had a ton of picks. Because playing in a good secondary lets you do that.
Yeah, target him, don't target him. It's both good for. It can both be good for corners.
I just agree with the talent overall.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Dallas Turner being number 1 is crazy.
Media loves Dallas Turner. I mean, he was the consensus defensive player, first defensive player, and on the big board. So it doesn't necessarily shock me, even though he wasn't the first edge to go. And I think that makes sense when you watch the tape. But
And he had a
Whatever,
great
Vegas.
combine, and like he was good, but he just feels like a worse version of Anderson. But okay, whatever.
I got two more.
Yeah.
The first one I'll be quick on. Geno Smith MVP is plus 10,000. Do you know how many? Do you know where that ranks amongst quarterbacks?
Right
22nd. He's got the same odds as Will Levis. Deshaun Watson has better odds to win MVP. It just makes me sick. So I like. A bet on that should go to like the Geno Smith underrated foundation or something.
I'm betting on this right now, like as we speak.
This is the bet that moves you.
I won't lie.
Like,
it's plus 10,000, bro. Like,
he's just too good. He's received MVP votes already in his 2 years as a starter. It's not like he's too old to win anything. There's been a lot of pocket passers who have been great at age 33. He's got the weapons. Like it would be crazy, but it's not. There's not 22 guys that take above him. So I think it's like in a vacuum, it's a decent bet. If it's the only bet you make, I don't know about that, but I still like it. And then I got the Vikings under 6.5 wins.
You think they're going to be that
plus
bad?
116. Well, they won 7 last year, and that was with 8 games of Kirk playing the greatest football of his life.
What was their record in those games?
Well, they beat the 49ers in one of them, and they beat the Packers in one of them. I remember that. Or wait, do I remember that? Did Mullins beat the 49ers or did Kirk?
And through their first 8 games, they were 4-4. And then they won a couple with Dobbs.
And then they went on a huge losing streak.
And then they fell apart, except for a 3-0 win against the Raiders, where Nick Mullins threw for 83 yards.
So they're 500 with Kirk being amazing. And then Josh Dobbs goes on an insanity run, and then they suck. And now they have J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. And they won 7 last year. I don't see much of a path for them to get more than last in this division. Like, it's plus 116 to get the under, which is pretty good odds for an over-under. So I like that.
Yeah. If you're really low on McCarthy and Darnold, I could see it. I think.
And then look at their defense too. Like, I get the Flores boost can make you perform better than your talent, but again, when you just look at like who are the best 2 players on that defense right now, it's Grenard and Ivan Pace.
Right.
Like, where does that rank amongst? I don't know. Like, best defensive anchors.
Really holding that duo
I mean,
back.
Ivan Pace is the best defensive player on my Madden Ultimate team. So
I don't know. I just think bad quarterback situation. If we're objectively looking at it,
oh my God, Tillery is starting on that depth chart, man.
Tillery is starting. It's just rough to me. And I saw a tweet the other day that said the thing people underrate about the Vikings is that Justin Jefferson is just now hitting his prime. I'm like, I think that's the one thing people don't underrate about the Vikings is like Justin Jefferson will be really good. I think people have this idea that the weapons will just carry them. But like, the weapons were good last year. I don't know. Just last year's results don't suggest some huge jump this year, even if Jefferson is healthy. So yeah, I don't like the Vikings next year.
Playing in the North is tough, of course. So they have a good amount of difficult games there. Their schedule does not look particularly easy, if I'm being honest.
We got
very, very few gimmies here.
They got the Giants right away, but then it goes 49ers, Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions, Rams, Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, Seahawks, Packers, Lions. I just think they're worse than those teams, like on paper. So like, why would I pick them to win right now? Like, how many games should they be favored in? They should be favored against the Giants.
I don't know. I think it's as simple as they have the worst roster on paper in their division.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's tough to climb to 7 wins doing that. I could see it. I don't think that I'm particularly low on the Vikings. Like, I think Darnold is better than Mullins and Dobbs. So
Yeah, but
think
McCarthy will be getting the start.
And I think there is some truth to Flores kind of bringing some juice to a defense that doesn't have a ton of talent. And it's like they can at least still make big plays. And the last one, I think Ivan Pace plus 100,000 for defensive player of the year is honestly not bad. And I mean, no, I think 6.5 is kind of a fair line for them.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that the under is plus money, because usually both are minus 110 or something like that. I think it's a great bet. I think it's a great bet. I will be betting that one. You can personally take it from me that Theo Ash's hard-earned money will be riding on the Vikings under. So
I did place that Geno Smith bet, $10, $10 to win 1,000 on Geno Smith for MVP.
I might. Look, I said it. I might put some money on that as well. But anyway.
Gotta rock with it. See it through. But I think those are all of the prop bets. So what an episode. What a day. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. When this comes out, it will be Matthew Sponhour's birthday. So make sure you all wish him a happy birthday in the replies. I don't need to wish him a happy birthday right now because I will be
it's not my birthday.
I will be the first one to wish him a happy birthday. Actually, Zach will probably beat me. You do live with him, but
he's not home right now though.
Oh, that's right. He's back in Columbus.
Wow.
So.
Spawner is going to be home all alone, waiting for someone to be the first
back,
person.
But he's not home Thursday night, but he's coming back to hang out.
To wish him a happy birthday.
And then he's leaving right away again.
I'm off work tomorrow. I could pull up for some Murphys.
Go crazy. Do it.
Go crazy. I'll think about it. But make sure you all wish Matthew Sponhour a very, very happy birthday. And until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in. And we will catch you on the flippity flop.